All right, everyone, this is Wild Phil with Wild Philosophy. Let's get wild. Let's get serious for this episode, okay? We're going to talk about Western dualism. I am so excited for this episode. Before you shut this off, listen to me. If you are one of these people who are just completely fed up, completely sick of this whole bipolarization in American culture, in just Western Hemisphere culture, I'm going to tell you exactly how it got there and what you can do about it. This might change your life, and if it does, let me know in the comments and subscribe. Let's get right to it. So, what is Western dualism? Well, let me tell you first. That's why I'm so excited. It literally encapsulates like more than 50% of wild philosophy, of my philosophy on life, and it's changed some things for me. And yet it's so fucking simple. So let me tell you where I heard about it first, okay? I felt like a fool for not knowing about it because it was so simple. It's like it's right in front of you every fucking day, but you don't realize it. And what that is all right. I was listening to this podcast about 3 years ago. I am going to try and I'm going to try and reiterate whatever it is that I retained from 3 years ago, so I might butcher it. But it was on a podcast called The Art of Manliness. They were interviewing this friar monk named Richard Rohr. So if you look up friar monk, Art of Manliness, you might hear the whole episode. If you're interested in this one, I'll plug them in. But what they were talking about is, so there was this monk that worked for this Catholic school, and his job every single summer was to give guidance and take care of these sort of like hooligan, fire starter, troublemaker boys every single year. And nothing was working. Every single year, the same guys are back. They're still fucking around. And what's the solution? Well, you know what? We're going to read more Bible verses, and you better memorize them. And they just kept reading more Bible bullshit, and it ain't doing anything because these fucking boys, I was there at one point. I was in a Catholic school, and Catholicism can suck my balls. It didn't do shit for me. So reading more Bible stuff, it was just cheesy. It was like I was doing the 2000 version of OK Boomer to these people. It didn't change anything. And so this monk was like, you know what? I have to change something. Something has to be done. And sure enough, he went on this, I guess what Catholic monks call missionaries, where they travel around the world. They offer some kind of volunteer service, or they help like a poor town, or they build wells, whatever. And so he traveled to sort of like Central Asia near Tibet, where Chinese Buddhism stemmed from, and Taoism, because there's also a Japanese Buddhism, and also in that area is Hinduism. This is all sort of Eastern religion and philosophy, right? So Western dualism stems from religion in the Western part, and we'll get to that later. But what he realized from being around Tibet and China and India and Japan is that people there, he was like, something seems a little bit more, let's not talk about the leaders. Obviously, there's dictators there. But as far as people, one-on-one, in public, people seemed a lot more respectful, a lot more easygoing, a lot just, what's the word, like, they didn't have this evangelist sort of witch hunt mentality that we have in the Western Hemisphere. And he was interested. Why is that? So, for example, the example that I always like to give is, in dualist culture, in Western culture, you hear some kind of story, right? Like, such as, I'll give you an example. I had a friend, this is a true story. I had a friend who, his dad was disabled, and because he was disabled and he wasn't able to move, he ended up getting cancer, and his lack of movement, bringing down his immune system, progressed the cancer. And now that he's disabled, he he didn't have any health insurance. So they were like, all right, well, then you're going to die. So you're refused a surgery that will save your life because we have private health insurance in America, right? So there's so many questions to ask, right? But the thing is, in that particular situation, yeah, you don't have health insurance. See ya. It's one or the other. You either have it or you don't. You either have money or you don't. You're either disabled or you're not. It's always dualist culture. Another example that I give, imagine if there was a third world country and there's a market. A boy runs into the market, steals a loaf of bread for his grandmother who is a leper. She has money, but she cannot leave to go to the market, and he can't purchase things because he's a little boy. So he steals a loaf of bread so she doesn't die. In Western dualism, you'd be like, well, she committed a crime. She deserves to go to jail. He committed a crime. Let's charge him as a fucking adult, right? There's no leeway. It's always us and them. Black and white, red versus blue, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat. Like, everything is two fucking choices in this stupid brainwashed world. And over in places like where this monk visited, in Eastern cultures, they would sort of scratch at their chin and they'd be like, well, he could have asked his neighbor to buy the loaf of bread. Well, he could have, but you know what? We'll let him slide by. Well, you know what? Maybe we should help him out. Maybe not only are we not going to send him to jail and charge him with a crime, maybe we should even donate some bread to him. It's so much more easygoing. Like there isn't this caveman mentality of it's either this or this. It's either this or this. And so he brought that back. He took these sort of like influences from Taoism, from Buddhism, even from Hinduism. The importance of meditation. You don't even, and that's the thing is like, that's why so many people, in my opinion, don't want to fucking pray in America. It's not cool to be Catholic because it's a fairy tale. But if you deemed it as meditation, as just taking a break from the troubles of the world, you know how much less anxiety there would be? So it's just, I'm not a religious person, but meditation is a big part of life. Where am I going with this? I'm so over-caffeinated. So what I'm getting at is this monk took these influences. He took it back to these boys. He taught them. And soon enough, a lot of them were leaving. A lot of them didn't come back the next year to summer school for causing trouble. Because in Eastern philosophies, it's a lot easier to have patience, to have a centrist opinion, and to sort of, whether instead of having this Western dualist view stemming from Abrahamic religions where if you don't do this, you're burning in hell and your flesh is coming off your body. Instead of having that as an answer, they said, well, here's how karma flows. If you don't pay attention in class, well, then you're going to not get, you probably won't end up paying attention anywhere else. And pretty soon when you want to pay attention because you need to get ahead in life, you're going to be so far back. You've fallen down this flight of stairs so far down that it's going to be a lot harder to go up those steps again or to hold on to that railing. You patiently and very peacefully explain what could happen rather than you go to hell and you die. So, and that's exactly where Western dualism stems from. So moving on, Abrahamic religion. What are this is Western dualism is to be blamed. Abrahamic religion is to be blamed for the Western dualism influence that exists in North America, in South America, in Eastern Europe. It's all the finger of blame because that's what those religions teach you, that you'll constantly go to hell and you die. Instead of calling them the Holy Trinity, let's call them the steaming pile of shit Trinity. And those three religions are Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. They're piles of shit. Every single one of their writings leads to one end. You die, you suffer, you get tortured. It's three religions completely based on threats, on fucking torturing people, killing people, fucking them over, and you wonder why it's not popular anymore because it's full of shit. It's full of shit. It's literally the same thing as, the reason why boomers couldn't raise their kids right is because, for example, when my kid would eat candy all night, he went trick-or-treating, he kept his pillowcase full of candy next to him. I said, listen, eventually I will ground you for eating that candy, But you'll see. Go ahead. Eat as much as you want. But the more you eat, you're going to be sick. You're not going to feel good. You're going to have a headache during the day because your blood sugar going all over the fucking place. And you'll learn by yourself. That is called patient teaching. It's teaching with patience, and it's sort of laying out the scenario of what could happen rather than, you know what, if you do this, then you're grounded. Well, why, Dad? Because I said so. That's what every fucking boomer said. Because I said so. Because I said so. And you don't learn shit because I said so. If you drive a car and you don't crash it because somebody said so, well, how are you going to learn what to do when you do crash it? Because every fucking person gets in a car accident. So all of this stems from Abrahamic religion. I mean, let's be honest. There's the Old Testament, which is basically the Torah, which is basically the Quran in Islam. I've read every single one of them. I had a person try to convert me into Islam. I've read the Quran. I've read the Torah. I've read the Old Testament. I've read the New Testament. It's all nonsense because it all ends in threats rather than teaching you the flow of karma. And because of that, you have all these governments all over Eastern Europe, all over the Middle East, and all over the Americas that teach you how things end up where they do through threats, through absolute threats. If you cheat on your wife, you go to hell. That's it. You go to hell. All right. Well, that's over. Well, I'm already going to hell for stealing, so all right, I may as well not be religious. You're eating, you Abrahamic religions are eating yourself alive because people already do shit that they go to hell for. But instead of being redeeming, instead of trying to gain good karma, they keep like they give up because it's like, I'm already going to hell. So what does it fucking matter if I do more things? This is what the influence of Abrahamic religion does on a society like America. Okay? I can only speak for America because this is where I was born. I can't really speak for Europe. I can't speak for South America, but I do notice that that's what happens. That's what you tell somebody. Did you vote blue or did you vote red? I didn't vote at all. Why didn't you vote? Why didn't you vote? What's wrong with you? Oh, you're a centrist? You must be a coward. Well, if that's what you want to believe, I'm also the happiest, most smiling coward you'll ever see, because that's usually what centrists are, because we're not pushed to the extremes. It's funny because, in my opinion, capitalism, I love capitalism. It's a great game. A lot of people hate capitalism, but you can't hate the player. You have to hate the game. Or you can just become a good player. There's many ways to play. You change up your own rules. If you suck at the game, well, then you got some work to do on yourself. But the point is that it really shows how oftentimes people in the middle of, left of the right and right of the left, people who are in the middle, they are the happiest. They are the most philosophizing. They are the ones who question things. And instead of going into this witch hunt mode where, all right, well, this is what we're going to do to you. Instead, you kind of let karma flow. You let wu wei. You let things happen as they may. You let the chips fall where they may. And you adapt to it. Because if you did that, you might live in a way peaceful and happier world. Because look at the world today. Look at the world today. You say one thing and immediately people put you into this box. You say, well, I think people should have abortion. I do. I think abortion should be. All right, you're in this box. You're stamped, sealed, packet, like that's it. Extreme. It's either you're for it or against it. Well, what if you're in the middle? Like, depends on the situation. What? How does that work? Because you're still a fucking caveman believing in Western dualism. So I urge anybody who listened to this episode. I mean, this isn't really a long episode. I mean, it's, look at things outside the box. Look at things outside of the two choices that everything gives you: politics, religion. When you go, the rules at a workplace. You're either late or you're early. Like every fucking thing in this country. There's zero tolerance. There's zero. It's so rigid that you're eating each other alive. If you just thought outside this whole dualist thinking that life isn't just two choices, you might be a happier person. I hope you enjoy this episode. It's a short one. I don't really know what else to add. I wish I could ramble more, but I don't know what else to ramble. So have a good day. Thank you for getting wild. Please subscribe. It's 3 words: Wild Phil's Osophy. YouTube channel, podcast, Instagram, TikTok. Thank you very much.